After 10 IVF attempts, I finally got pregnant, but the test results showed I had cancer. Hubby was very sad. He said, "I'm also sad to give up this child, but for your health, it's better not to keep him." I took the abortion pill with tears in my eyes. The pain was almost unbearable, stripped that hard-won child from my body with my own hands. At this time, I overheard my husband's white moonlight asking him, "You lied to your sister-in-law that she had cancer. Aren't you afraid of being found out? When the time comes, just say it's a misdiagnosis. I promised you, except you. I won't have a child with another woman, I'll do it." My hands are shaking. I tore up the will that gave him all the property. This kind of man, not worth keeping. My stomach hurts. I have no energy. Cold sweat is pouring out. I couldn't hold on any longer. I slid down the wall, sitting on the floor under the hospital gown. A patch of bright red blood oozed out. I realized the child Nathan and I had worked so hard to have had left me forever. But Nathan didn't even notice me not far away. He kept staring at Emily. Repression and patience were written all over his face. "Emily, I can't fulfill my promise to grow old with you, but at least let me keep my other promise to you." Nathan, her eyes were filled with deep love. "It seems like it's going to overflow any minute. I can't help it." Pulled out my cell phone, made a call to Nathan. The ringing phone interrupted the intimate atmosphere between the two. Nathan looked at the caller ID. His tone was full of annoyance. It must be her asking for this and that again. Ever since she got cancer. 1 minute she wants me to go to the south of the city to buy steamed buns. 1 minute she wants me to buy steamed dumplings in the north. She's not really sick. What's the point of being so delicate? He hung up without saying a word. My cell phone screen slowly turned black. My stiff and cold face was reflected. I felt a chill from the bottom of my heart. 2 years in love with Nathan. Married for 6 years. Do I really know him? Nathan and I were a match made in heaven in everyone's eyes. He treats me so well that all his female friends envy him. I even hope to meet someone like him in my next life. I grew up in a single-parent home, never believed in love, but for his sake, I walked into the grave of marriage without hesitation. I took it as a gamble, and I was complacent, thinking I had won the bet. I always thought his behavior was flirting and pampering, but it turns out in his eyes, he was just indulging my pretensions. He, in the end, has he ever really loved me? My thoughts were interrupted by Emily's soft sobbing. Her eyes were red. Suddenly grabbing Nathan's hand, "Nathan, brother, I knew it. You still have me in your heart. You probably don't know. I came back this time just for you. It's a pity that you've already." The moment Emily and Nathan's eyes met, she couldn't control herself anymore. Standing on her tiptoes, she kissed him. Nathan froze instantly. My mind buzzed. Eyes turned red all of a sudden. My whole body was shaking. Instinctively, I wanted to rush out. Unexpectedly, Nathan suddenly pushed Emily away. Emily, this is not good." I felt so bad, looking at the blood on my hands. I hesitated for a moment, at least. He held the line. "Right. Does this mean he still has a little crush on me in his heart, brother Nathan?" Emily looks at him with a surprised face. You don't want me anymore," he replied. "Emily, I just don't want you to get hurt. You're not married. How could I bear to ruin your innocence? And I don't want you to be the mistress that everyone accuses you of being." Nathan looks at her deeply. "Emily, there's no way Sophia and I are getting a divorce. She saved my life. I will never let her down in my life." One short sentence completely shattered all my hopes. It turns out, all his love for me, just because I once helped him. 6 years ago, he failed to start his own business, lost a lot of money, even stood on the balcony of the top floor, wanted to end his life. I took out my entire fortune, supported him to start over. I accompanied him through those hard times. He didn't forget, even spent his whole life repaying me. But I didn't care. I looked down at the thin will in my hand, smiled bitterly, tore it to shreds. This marriage, I must divorce. Nathan took care of the blood on his body. Finally came back. He looks as calm and collected as usual. Nothing different. He walked over to the bed, gently touched my face, asked, feeling better. But the moment his palm touched me, I couldn't help but feel a wave of nausea. She turned around and vomited into the trash can. Nathan blushed profusely. "You haven't taken your abortion pill." I grabbed the covers, leaned back, close my eyes and say, "I did. How could I not take it?" He was the one who watched me take the pill. He wanted to see our baby die. Nathan was relieved. "It's like everything's been arranged. Baby, I thought you mentioned that your assistant quit. It's a bit of a pain in the ass to get things done." I looked at him. My eyes are deep. "I already have some ideas in my heart. Emily walked in holding a large bouquet of flowers. I specially found a helper for you. She graduated from a prestigious foreign school. She has a lot of work experience. During the time you are hospitalized, she will work with you. What do you think? I took a closer look at the woman in front of me. This is the first time I've seen her face so clearly. She is indeed quite pretty. No wonder Nathan can't get enough of her. She smiled slightly, placing the flowers into a vase on the table, nods politely in greeting. Sophia is always nice. I sized her up carefully. I can't help but smile. Nathan, isn't this your ex-girlfriend? I wouldn't dare let her be my assistant. I just made a casual remark, but it was like a big stone falling down. It immediately caused a huge shock in Nathan's heart. His expression changed a bit. His eyes fluttered. Emily responded easily. General Sophia, what happened between Nathan's brother and I is long gone. Who doesn't know that he's deeply in love with you? There's no room for me. Nathan's brother can't help it. My parents are gone. They left me in debt. I have a degree, but I can't find a job. I had to ask for his help. Mr. Sophia, don't worry about it. Just think of me as your assistant. Yes, I am. Nathan held my hand, whispering, baby, don't think too much. I'm just trying to help her. I smiled softly. Good. It's just that I'm short of an assistant, but I grimaced. I reached out and knocked over the vase on the table. My tone was cold. Don't you know I don't like lilies? The vase fell to the ground. The broken pieces of porcelain splashed around, grazed her arm, cutting out a shallow wound. Emily froze for a moment, standing awkwardly in place. Me, she turned her head, looks to Nathan with a look of help. This is the first lesson I'm going to teach you. I said slowly. Being an assistant, you have to know exactly what I want. Okay. Nathan grabbed my arm, pulled me into his arms. You're not in the best of health. Don't get so excited. It's her first time after all. Gotta give her time to learn. I closed my eyes, said in a calm tone, pack up the stuff. Emily has a resigned look on her face, but at Nathan's eye gesture, still held back her emotions, started to clean up the ground. Suddenly, an extremely frightened scream broke the tranquility. She backed up repeatedly, fell to the ground in a flash. Blood. Nathan immediately ran over. Beside my bed, a basin of blood was placed. Seeing it, my heart violently seized pain. Emily's face was full of tears. She hid in Nathan's arms in fear. Nathan stared at the basin of blood. He couldn't hide his anger. Sophia, what is this? The smell of blood is strong. I don't feel as sick as I did before. On the contrary, I felt an intense sadness in my heart. This is my child, Nathan said with a sullen face. Sophia, you've been getting more and more unreasonable lately. Cancer is not the reason you can be unreasonable. And you made a point of putting a basin of blood in the hospital room to scare the little girl. Don't you think that's going too far? I stared at him. My heart felt like it had been ripped open. It's amazing that he forgot all about it. I took the abortion pill. The pot of blood in this room, wasn't that our baby? I looked up at Nathan. He had Emily in his arms. His eyes were full of pity. Nathan suddenly lifted his leg and kicked. There was a thud. The basin was overturned. Blood splashed everywhere. It was hard on my heart. I couldn't help but scream out, Nathan, what are you doing? Emily said shakily, Nathan, you don't blame Sophia always. It's me who's a coward. And I'm a bit bloodsick, you know that. Nathan suddenly remembered. Oh, that's right. I forgot you're afraid of blood. He didn't say a word. Copy the broom next to him. Started to clean up the stains on the floor. Then, as soon as he grabbed the basin that was still half full of blood, threw it straight out of the window, and muttered under his breath, it's clean if you can't see it. It's unbearable. I was so angry that the blood flowed backwards throughout my body. Wide open red eyes. I rushed to the window. Nathan, that's our baby. Nathan reacted. He froze in place. Nathan, you forget. You're the one who said you didn't want the baby. You forced me to take the abortion pill. The baby was lost in that tub, I said angrily. It was our baby. You just threw it off a high building like that. You didn't even leave a shred of dignity. Nathan turned pale. He said, Sophia, listen to me. Sophia, you listen to me. I didn't think about it that much. Emily suddenly broke away from Nathan's embrace. She cried out, Sophia, you don't blame brother Nathan. It's all my fault. If it wasn't for my blood sickness, he wouldn't have had an accident. I'll go get the basin back. Emily turned around and rushed downstairs. Nathan was about to go after her. I grabbed his arm. He looked back at me. Sophia, Emily has no family in China. I'm afraid something will happen to her. Nathan, I was unusually calm, but my lips were bloodless. Do you really want to leave me alone for an ex-girlfriend? For the sake of an ex-girlfriend? Are you really going to leave me with cancer and a miscarriage? He was hesitant. Suddenly, a scream came from downstairs. "Girl, what happened? Someone come. Someone's fainted." Nathan pushed me away. He turned and ran. My back hit the hard, cold corner of the table. The pain was too much for me to bear, but he didn't even turn his head to look. My cell phone beeped. Suddenly, I received a text message from an unfamiliar number. "Chief Sophia, you don't know it yet. You are in good health. No cancer at all. Nathan's brother doesn't want this child. That's why he lied to you." I kept getting text messages on my cell phone. Nathan was holding her, hands on her. The knot in Nathan's throat moved. She was lying in a hospital bed. Nathan stood guard, worry all over his face, their hands clasped together, 10 fingers interlocked. Those photos are like countless silver needles, piercing deep into my heart. I saved all the photos. I staggered out of bed, asked questions along the way. Finally, I found the emergency room where Emily was. The door was half open. Emily was nestled in Nathan's arms. They couldn't help but kiss, breathing rapidly. In between kisses, Emily whispered, "Nathan, I will be very obedient, never disturb you and your sister-in-law. I just need to stay by your side. It's enough for me to look at you." Emily, Nathan's eyes are filled with emotion. They're interacting obliviously. They didn't notice me outside the door holding up my cell phone. Nathan came back the next day. He looked so refreshed. A faint perfume wafted over. I looked up, calmly looked at him, asked, "Emily's awake." Nathan sighed. "Sophia, you don't have to bother with her. Her parents are gone now. She's in a lot of debt. I feel sorry for her. I want to help her. Why do you have to make things difficult for her? What happened between me and her is over. I only have you in my heart now. Why don't you understand?" He grabbed my hand tightly, eyes full of sincerity and seriousness. At that moment, I was in a trance. I even wondered if everything just now was a dream. "Eat up." Nathan stretched out his hand. In his palm lay several white pills. "Don't lose your temper. Obey. The doctor said the abortion pill needs to be taken twice. This is the second time." He hands me water. "Sophia, for your health. Take the pills." He pushes me into the abyss with another pretense. I lowered my head, staring at the few pills in his palm. Couldn't help but let out a sneer filled with sarcasm. "Nathan, are you doing this for my body?" Nathan's face became visibly flustered. He frowned, appearing impatient. "What do you mean by that?" I calmly opened the drawer next to me, took out a medical report and handed it to him. "Nathan, I went for a full-body checkup yesterday. The results were good. I'm in good health. There's nothing wrong with me at all." Nathan's face suddenly changed. He stared at the medical report, quickly took it over and turned it over. Within a few seconds, he adjusted his emotions in a very natural way. He looked up happily and said, "That's great, Sophia. Sophia, you're not sick. Was it all a misdiagnosis before?" I smiled. Sure enough, he was right. He pretended it was a misdiagnosis, putting the blame on himself. This man is horrible. I've only now seen his true colors. My poor child, in order to save me, gave his life. I closed my eyes, showing a sarcastic sneer slowly. "Nathan is not a misdiagnosis. You know best." Nathan's smile was a little stiff. "What do you mean by that? You're the one who told me I had cancer. You're the one who told me I had cancer, and you're the one who made me miscarry." I looked at him sadly. "Nathan, you just don't want our baby. You just don't want us to have a baby, so why go around in circles?" I picked up the medical report. I turned to the last page. I found a divorce decree inside. It says, "We each take away what we had before marriage. I don't want your shares in the company. Nathan, let's get a divorce." Nathan never thought that I, who loved him so much, would say those words. That I, who loved him so much, would one day say those words. He froze. A flicker of panic flashed across his face. He was at a loss for words. "Sophia, listen to me." He grabbed my wrist. His tone was anxious. "I really didn't know you were misdiagnosed. It was all a misunderstanding. I admit it. I admit it. I was the one who advised you to abort the baby, but I did it for your health. It's just a baby. We're still young. We can have more in the future. Just because of this child, you want to divorce me. What do you take our 8 years of love for? Is it as simple as a child?" He doesn't understand. For this child, I've done test tubes 7 times. I've suffered so much. Every time I thought, I can finally have a love child with him, so I gritted my teeth and persevered. This child, it's really hard to come by. In his eyes, I was always just a child. I closed my eyes, letting go of the last bit of thoughts in my mind that I shouldn't have. From this moment on, between me and him, it's really over. My mood slowly calmed down. I took out my cell phone, opened the text message Emily sent me, handed it to him to read. A cold smile appeared at the corner of my mouth. Nathan, how dare you say you don't know anything? Nathan's face immediately changed. His hands were shaking badly. Constantly flipping through the text messages from Emily, his face became more and more ugly. He gripped his cell phone tightly. Suddenly, the door was pushed open. Emily barged right in. She grabbed the divorce papers, emotionally agitated. Brother Nathan, what are you waiting for? Sign it. She was the one who filed for divorce first. It's not like you're ungrateful. And she doesn't want the shares of the company. What are you waiting for? Nathan stared at her blankly. His mind was blank. Emily, on the other hand, was overjoyed. Brother Nathan, what you promised me. It's all getting done now, suddenly. There was a snap. Nathan slapped Emily hard, instantly shattering all her illusions. Emily stood frozen in place, unbelievably touching her red, swollen face. Trembling voice. Confused, she asked. Nathan, brother, get out. Nathan's eyes glow red, pushes Emily out the door, then slams the door shut. He stood there, staring at me with a fierce look in his eyes. Sophia, you really want to mess with me like this? You know what's going on. We're practically tied to the same boat now. I interrupted him with a smile, my tone full of contempt. Nathan, I'm not interested in being tied to a dog. He was so angry that his chest rose and fell violently, as if he had been insulted. Nathan, I'm not interested in being tethered to a dog. Good, okay, Sophia, don't regret it, this marriage. You're the one who proposed to divorce. You've done so many test tubes, and you had a miscarriage. I'm afraid no one will accept you in the future. Don't regret it then. By then, even if you beg me for forgiveness on your knees, I won't turn back. He picked up the pen I handed him, signed his name on the divorce agreement. Afterwards, he closed the door, hugged Emily tightly. The two of them walked away intimately. I looked at the divorce papers in my hand. I laughed. Emily thought it was too easy. Does he think Nathan's company is worth a lot of money? If it wasn't for me, the company would have gone out of business long ago. Nathan and I got divorced, and it was a big deal. My mom called and asked me, "Didn't you say you'd never marry him? Now you've got cancer. Why do you still want a divorce? He's gone. Who will take care of you?" I'm pouting. "Mom, you really don't care about me anymore." My mom grunted. "When you were clamoring to get married. You didn't even recognize me as your mother. Now that there's no one to rely on, she only remembers me." My heart was sad. When I married Nathan, my mom was especially against it. She thinks women should be independent. You can't put all your feelings on a man. So she worked hard on her own. She made a fortune in business. She's worth tens of billions. At that time, I had a brainwave. For Nathan, I even gave up my mom. Now I think about it, it's so stupid. I regret it so much. I said to my mom, "Mom, I'm sorry, I know I'm wrong." Then, I told everything about the past few days. My mom heard it. I was so angry that I dropped my cell phone, and then angrily picked it up again and said, "You go and get the divorce papers first. When things are over, Nathan's company won't be able to open again. Also, you come back immediately to take over the family business." During the cooling off period, I never saw Nathan again. My friend told me. My friends told me that his company is doing well. He's got a sweet and caring secretary. When I saw him again, he looked refreshed. He looked at me. He couldn't hide the satisfaction on his face. "Sophia, it seems that all these years, it is you who has been influencing me. Do you know that I signed several big orders this month? I'm making several times more money than before. I used to worry too much. Now I understand. As long as you're at the top, no matter how much you've been through, no one dares to mention it again." He held Emily in his RMTKS. He handed me an invitation with a smile on his face. "We're getting married soon. If you have time, welcome to drink the wedding wine. Open the red invitation." Their names were printed on it. I should have been sad. I don't know why. I'm unusually calm. Right now, I realized I had no feelings for Nathan. After getting the divorce papers, I was relieved. Immediately sent a text message to my mom. Emily got the divorce papers, thinking it was time to make a move. She leaned into Nathan's arms. The two walked past me. She couldn't hide the smug look on her face. "Sophia is always wrong. You're not the VP of Nathan's brother's company anymore." She raised her head, like a proud swan, said in a contemptuous tone, "Little Sophia, thank you for allowing brother Nathan and I to grow old together. You are welcome to come to our wedding." She deliberately bumped me with her shoulder. The tone was full of sarcasm. "Getting is my luck. Losing is your fate, little Sophia. I really didn't expect it. The child you've been waiting for all these years. I actually got it easily. She slightly lifted up her not yet obvious stomach, with a little bit of triumph said, the baby is still small. Remember to keep my secret. Seeing her smug look, I was instantly furious. I raised my hand and slapped her. Emily and Nathan froze. I was the first one to do it. I spun around, slapped her again. Emily's face swelled up immediately. She cried out with a wow, how dare you hit me. Nathan finally made a move. He ran over and grabbed my arm. He shouted, Sophia, are you crazy? You're just jealous that Emily got what you didn't so quickly. You're too much. I didn't bother to argue with him. She kicked him in the lower part of his body before he could react, slapped him a few more times one after another, shouted angrily, you're with someone else behind my back, and you dare to bring her to show off. The people around quickly gathered around, seeing them raise their cell phones in droves. I smiled slightly, meaningfully looked at Emily. After she locked eyes with me, her face instantly turned pale. Trembling, she suddenly screamed, rushed towards me. The two of us wrestled to a standstill. She grabbed my hair. I tore off a piece of her scalp. She pinched my arm. I bit off a piece of her flesh. She hit hard. I'm tougher than she is. This period of time, the pent-up resentment, finally in this fierce fight completely released. In the end, all three of us were taken to the police station. Emily yelled out that she wanted to sue me. She said, I'm still pregnant with the baby. If anything happens to the baby, it's all her fault. Comrade policeman, check the security cameras. She must have started it. I was crying with tears on my face. I said to the police, you don't understand. I had a child too. It turned out to be killed by both of them together. I took out all the evidence I had saved before. One by one, I showed them. Everyone's eyes turned to Nathan. The eyes were full of deep meaning. Nathan has always cared about his face. He really couldn't help it. Suddenly stood up and said, I want a lawyer. Sophia, you are wrongly accusing me. I'm going to sue you. That's right, before your divorce. Nathan and I were innocent. You're framing me. Emily pounced on Nathan's embrace in a pitiful manner. I leisurely crossed my legs. I looked at him calmly. He hesitated, said, Sophia, you apologize to me now. I can consider not to pursue. I'll give you one last chance. You have to take it well. Nathan looked at me with gloomy eyes. There was a hint of charity in his tone. Emily sneered. Sophia, you know in your heart. Nathan's company has a team of lawyers. If you really want to fight a lawsuit, you are absolutely no match for him. Nathan had a smug expression on his face. I broke his peace with a single word. Nathan, you shouldn't have forgotten. Who helped you find your team of lawyers? Nathan's face suddenly changed. What do you mean by that? He quickly took out his cell phone, dialed the number of his trusted lawyer. You come to the police station right now. What was said on the other end of the phone was unclear. Nathan's whole body suddenly collapsed to the ground. I stood in front of him, looked down at him. I smiled coldly. Nathan, we've been married too long. You've forgotten how you got those things. Nathan didn't dare to tell me again. He scrambled to his feet and ran out the door. Emily grabbed him. Brother Nathan. What's going on? I thought we agreed to sue him. I'm in a lot of pain today. She hit him too hard. She was in tears. She looked miserable, but Nathan pushes her away angrily. Walks away. Emily froze for a second, stands frozen in place. Nathan, but Nathan was already gone. This time, I bumped Emily's shoulder with a meaningful smile. Emtikes Emily, you'd better find out what happened to Nathan's company, then think about suing me. I just got out of the police station. My mom's car pulled up right in front of me. She opened the door, revealing a face whose age could not be seen. She reached out to me and said, get in. At that moment, I couldn't hold back any longer. All the tears that had been pressed inside me for days flowed out at once. This month of waiting for a divorce, I had a particularly hard time, but about Nathan and me, I didn't say a word to anyone. A lot of mutual friends came up to me and asked me what happened. I didn't say anything. My mom also gave Nathan several big projects, held him in high regard. He was so proud of himself. It was all about that last moment, taking him from the top to the bottom. I pulled out of those projects. It's enough to make him suffer, my mom said coldly. I nodded and said, these years, the company relies on my investment to keep it afloat in order not to hurt his pride. I never mentioned it. Now I've withdrawn all my funds. As soon as he checks, he'll realize, without my support, the company is just an empty shell. His company can't hold out much longer. I only waited half a month, just half a month. I read on the internet that Nathan Group was about to go bankrupt. I calmly turned off that message. Suddenly, I heard a sharp knock on the door. Opened the door. See Nathan standing in the doorway with his head hanging down. I immediately slammed the door shut. He hurriedly reaches out to stop it. He called out to me in an almost pleading tone, "Sophia, let's talk this through. Let's talk it over." The door pressed hard against his hand. Cold sweat broke out on his forehead from the intense pain, but he didn't pull his hand back, nor did he cry out in pain. I took a deep breath, said, "Let's go out and talk." I led him to a cafe next to the house. Just sat down. He enthusiastically ordered me a sugar-free latte. "I remember you like lattes best." I didn't refuse, but didn't open the lid of that latte either. Nathan has lost a lot of weight. He looked tired. His eyes were red, completely different from the arrogant, smug look he had when I'd seen him the other day. The corner of my mouth lifted, coldly smiled. "Want to chat about something? You say." Nathan kept rubbing his hands together. He looked uneasy. He said in a hoarse voice, "Sophia, Sophia, please forgive me. Emily and I are not in the relationship you think we are." His eyes were full of guilt and regret. "Say it slowly." "I promise. Before I divorced you, I really didn't have much contact with Emily. She tried to get close to me a few times, but I never crossed that line. Later, you filed for divorce. I was furious. That's why I got together with her." He held my hand excitedly. He said, "Sophia, if I didn't like you and love you, how could I have decided to marry you? Think about it. We have been together for 6 years. I've been doting on you and loving you. Can it be pretending?" His voice was low, with a pleading tone. I admit it. I've lost everything. I can't live without you, Sophia. I can't live my life, Sophia. Let's stop. Let's make up." He looked at me seriously. His eyes were red. I froze for a moment. I recalled the days I had spent with him. We had gone through many storms together, truly loved each other. But nowadays, that love has indeed disappeared. Listening to his words, I was completely relieved because of my hesitation. He saw hope. Nathan grabbed my hand in excitement. "Sophia, us." I bowed my head. I drew my hand back. A look of disgust filled my face. I said calmly, "Without me, you can't live without me, then you die for me." I sneered, seeing Nathan's expression completely freeze. Only shock and disbelief remained in his eyes. A feeling of relief suddenly rushed over me. I slowly drank the cup of coffee. I said easily, "Nathan, you think I'm stupid. You think I'm stupid. It's only after your company went bankrupt that you remembered to come back to me. The wrongdoer. If your business gets bigger and bigger, you wouldn't have remembered me." I stood up. I picked up my coffee and threw it in his face. Then, I turned around and left. I didn't look back. Once inside, the cell phone rang desperately, picked it up and took a look. It's actually from the police station. "Are you MTKS, Sophia? Can you come over now?" The police officer gave the address of the top floor of the cafe. His voice was urgent. "Your ex-husband, Mr. Nathan, is going to jump off the building. He said if you don't forgive him, he'll jump right away." Nathan went on live. I clicked in to watch. The pop-ups were going fast. Lives are at stake. Even if there's a big deal between the two of them, you shouldn't joke about his life. Right, this woman is too much. It's all come to this. She hasn't shown up yet. Don't worry upstairs. The police are still in touch. I sneered. I told the police to turn on the speakerphone and handed the phone to Nathan. Handing Nathan his cell phone, he said with anticipation, "Sophia, I knew it. I knew it. You couldn't bear to see me go." "Nathan," I cut him off coldly. If you can, you can jump." Nathan's face turned white. He did not expect I would be so heartless. Even if he forced himself to die, I was indifferent. The internet exploded all of a sudden. I became the object of everyone's scolding. "This woman is too disgusting." That man was already standing on the roof of the building, ready to jump. She actually managed to say such things. She's a complete murderer. If the person really died, she would definitely have to be held criminally responsible. Seeing that everyone is emotional, I realized the opportunity I've been waiting for has finally come. I picked up the phone, dial the number. What was prepared before? It can now be released. The pop-ups in the live room suddenly changed winds because of a message. "Don't quarrel. Go to Sophia's account quickly. The cause and effect of the matter has been sorted out there. The reason for their divorce is that the man lied to the woman about having cancer, made her take abortion pills, and found a third party." Suddenly, public opinion was in an uproar. Things took a turn for the worse. Standing on the rooftop, Nathan, face was getting worse and worse, seeing the curses suddenly turn. He was like a dog being chased away, fleeing back to the safe zone in a sorry state. He was about to turn off the live broadcast. Suddenly, a A silhouette rushed out. Emily shouted, "Nathan, did you forget? Today is our wedding day." She was wearing a wedding dress. She's crying and her makeup is smeared. She looked scary as hell. "I don't care what you think. I don't care what you think. This wedding must be done." As soon as Nathan saw her in her wedding dress, he lost control of his emotions. "It's all your fault, Emily. Emily, you ruined everything for me. If it wasn't for you, Sophia would never have left me." He rushed up. He and Emily fought. They punched and kicked each other, totally disregarding the image. In the live broadcast room, tens of thousands of netizens were watching with great interest. Suddenly, Nathan pushed Emily hard and fell from the rooftop. The wedding dress flew up and down. It fell heavily on the ground, stained with bright red blood. The pop-up screen in the live broadcast room suddenly stopped. Then, because of the violation, the live broadcast was immediately shut down. The screen went completely black. Emily passed away. Nathan killed on impulse. He was sentenced to life imprisonment. The day he went to jail, he called me. I didn't want to answer, but he was very insistent. He called several times in a row. I had no choice. I had no choice but to answer it reluctantly. He said in a hoarse, desperate voice, "Sophia, it's me. It's me." He sounded wistful. "I just want to ask you one last question. If it hadn't been for Emily, would we not be in this situation?" He spoke with regret and remorse. I let out a soft sneer. I said, "No, I'm actually grateful that Emily came along. I should have seen it coming. The man I've loved for so many years. He's a devil who only cares about himself. I didn't want to wait until I was old to realize I had spent my whole life with a demon." I hung up the phone right away. I looked out the window. Spring is here. I understand, after leaving him, my future days will definitely be as bright as the flowers in spring. Only happiness will remain.